Welcome to another episode of NCBA's Coffee Break. I'm your host, Nathan Willner, and today, as part of our Getting to Know Your NCBA Leader series, we have a special guest, David Weimer. David's a prominent leader within NCBA and a seasoned attorney in creditors' rights law. Welcome, David.
Thanks for having me, Nathan.
So, thank you for taking the time to talk to your fellow NCBA leaders and members. Let's jump right in. What initially drew you to the practice of creditors' rights law?
Well, I guess I would have to say a recession. Uh, like a lot of people, I kind of fell into the position. The first firm I was with folded up its tents and went home. And about that same time, the largest law firm in Kansas City also closed. So there were hundreds of lawyers all looking for work at the same time. As we know, debt collection is somewhat recession proof. And so I was able to find a job with a firm that did collections, and it kind of stuck. I don't think much of anybody grows up thinking they're going to be a collection attorney, unless you're Steve Markoff, and even he says now that he always planned not to do that kind of work. So now he's a former president of NCBA, so I guess we know what that kind of promise means. You go where you're needed and where the work is.
So speaking of NCBA, why is serving as an NCBA leader such an important part of your professional life, and how does it affect your practice of law?
Well, I was, looking for something to do in my spare time, but seriously, creditors' rights law is the lifeblood of this firm, and it's important to us to protect that. And NCBA, of course, is the only national organization that is dedicated to protecting the rights of consumer collection attorneys and other types of collection and creditors' rights attorneys. And so preserving that is important to me. In addition, I feel like it's important to carry on the tradition of our firm's founder, Don Kramer, who also had a big part in starting NARCA, which is now NCBA.
Yeah, Don was a visionary in some ways, and so I think he'd be proud of the legacy that you and your firm are continuing. So talking about the practice, how describe, what a debt collection practice looks like, how many attorneys are in yours, do you operate in multiple states, and how long actually have you been involved in NCBA?
We have, counting me, 11 attorneys in the firm right now. I expect that number to grow slightly in the near term. We operate in 4 states: Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, and Arkansas. Kansas and Arkansas are not appearance states, but Missouri and Illinois are. And so our attorneys spend a lot of time going to court, especially in those 2 states. Our firm, of course, has been a member since the organization was founded. I've been a member since I joined the firm in 1998 and have been going to the conferences consistently since I became the chief compliance officer in 2010. I'm now serving my 3rd 2-year term as a board member.
So, I mean, that's impressive, the amount of time you've been involved and that you felt, even after, being involved for so many years, that being part of the leadership is a critical part of your debt collection practice. So,
I blame Ron Miller for that. He got me involved in a committee and it kind of grew from there.
so, talking about relationships and friends, on a personal note, what would you say the best advice you ever received was?
When you get an infuriating letter or email or pleading from opposing counsel, and you're going to get some, write what you really want to say, and then throw it away and wait a day and start over again. because your reputation is the most valuable thing you have. It's very easy to lose. It's very difficult to get it back once you've lost it. And you don't want to be known as someone who blows up at the slightest provocation.
Oh, that's great advice. And in fact, that's probably great advice in your personal life too. You know,
Probably right.
taking a pause. So talking about, you know, responding and to complaints, there's a lot going on with the artificial intelligence, AI, so we're asking all of NCBA leaders, how has AI changed your law firm's operations, and what do you see on the horizon?
Well, so far it really hasn't. I don't count call analytics because I consider that machine learning, not true AI. Although we do have call analytics, but I do expect it to have an impact going forward. It's going to help us, I think, keep, as you mentioned, complaints and disputes and that sort of item controlled and responded to appropriately.
Yeah, so I think if used properly, it could be really helpful in our practice area. But again, I think it's responsible is the key word there.
I agree.
So David, I know that one of the initiatives that you're passionate about and actually came up with this idea was to do outreach to law students, explain this practice area. Um, what advice would you give a third year law student?
I would say look around a bit before you make a decision on what to do. I think most of us come to law school with a preconceived notion of what the practice of law is going to be like, a lot of which is probably formed by television and the movies, which of course are not very accurate. Um, Also, watching some of the seemingly made for TV trials like the O.J. Simpson trial, again, real life is not very much like that.
But you do raise a good point. If someone wants to get experience, courtroom experience, litigation experience, and probably are very few other professions where you can, as a first or second year associate, be in court every day. So there is something to coming in early in this profession.
If you want to work in criminal law, you can go to the prosecutor's office or the public defender's office and get a lot of experience quickly. But in civil practice, you're not going to get into court as a first year in almost any other area. The I was remembering at the last conference, one of one of my friends was telling me that his son had become a partner at the law firm he was with and had just learned that he was going to get to go to his first trial after he became a partner in the firm. And now not all firms are going to be quite that extreme, but if what you think you want to do is be in a courtroom, then this is a good place to find out whether or not that's going to work for you. And that's what
Yeah,
you should do is figure out what you're good at and do it.
yeah. I think that's great advice. So those are wise words. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insights, and giving us a little bit of background about how you got into this practice area and really how rewarding it is to be part of this community. So thanks again, David, for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks, Nathan.
And thank you to our listeners for tuning in to NCBA's Coffee Break, getting to know your NCBA Leader Series, where we're highlighting our executive committee and board of directors members over the next few months in our biweekly newsletter. Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged, and thank you for tuning in.